which commemorates the 2,500-year anniversary of the 480 BC Battle of Thermopylae. My name is Karitsa, and I will be your Master of Ceremonies for this event.
Good evening all. I'd just like to start that when I was growing up, my dad and my uncles used to say to me, there's two types of people, Spartans and those who want to be Spartans. So, welcome Spartans and welcome wannabes. I welcome you all to this joint event of the Karitsa community and the Pan-Laconian Society of South Australia.
Κυρίες και κύριοι, εκ μέρους του Pan-Laconiικού Συλλόγου και των Συλλόγων Καριτσιωτών, καλησπέρα και καλωσορίσατε στον Pan-Laconiικό Σύλλογο και στην απόψινή μας εκδήλωση αφιερωμένο στην επέτειο της μάχης των Θερμοπυλών που έγινε πριν από 2.500 χρόνια. Επίσης, να γιορτάσουμε και την παρουσίαση του πίνακα του τοπικού μας καλλιτέχνη κ. Αντώνη Μαλαβάζο. Μεγάλη μας χαρά που μαζί με τους επίτιμους καλεσμένους όλοι σας βρίσκεστε εδώ απόψε για να τιμήσουμε ένα τόσο σημαντικό ιστορικό γεγονός και να δούμε μαζί πως ένας Σπαρτιάτης, Καριτσιώτης της Διασποράς, επέλεξε να τιμήσει τον βασιλιά Λεωνίδα. Αρχικά είχαμε σκοπό να γιορτάσουμε τη μάχη των Θερμοπυλών με διαφορετικό τρόπο το 2020, αλλά ο κορονοϊός μας άλλαξε τα σχέδια. Όμως με την πρόσκληση από το Σύλλογο των Καριτσιωτών μας δόθηκε ευκαιρία να το γιορτάσουμε με άλλο τρόπο για να αναγνωρίσουμε και να τιμήσουμε ένα τόσο μεγάλο ιστορικό γεγονός και έτσι αποδεχτήκαμε με μεγάλη χαρά αυτή την πρόσκληση. Αν και θα μιλήσει σε λίγο στα αγγλικά ο καθηγητής Rafferty για την ιστορική μάχη, θα προσπαθήσω να αναφέρω μια πολύ απλή και σύντομη περίληψη των γεγονότων που σημάδεψαν τον δυτικό πολιτισμό. Το καλοκαίρι του 480 π.Χ., ο βασιλιάς Λεωνίδας και 300 Σπαρτιάτες οπλιτές περπάτησαν από τη Σπάρτη μέχρι τις Θερμοπύλες για να αντιμετωπίσουν τον βασιλιά Ξερσή της Περσίας και τον τεράστιο στρατό του από όλες τις γωνίες της Περσικής Αυτοκρατορίας. Οι Σπαρτιάτες αντιστάθηκαν 3 ολόκληρες ημέρες, όλοι ως ένα. Η ηρωική στάση των Σπαρτιατών και των άλλων ελληνικών δυνάμεων στις Θερμοπύλες έδωσε έμπνευση στους Έλληνες να ενωθούν και να νικήσουν τους Πέρσες στη Σαλαμίνα και στην Πλατέα. Αυτά τα γεγονότα θεωρούνται τώρα κεντρικά ορόσημα στην ιστορία του ευρωπαϊκού πολιτισμού και έτσι ο βασιλιάς Λεωνίδας και οι 300 του άλλαξαν την πορεία του ελληνισμού και της Ευρώπης. Με έμπνευση και με κίνητρο από τη μάχη αυτή, ο Αντώνης Μαλαβάζος αισθάνθηκε την ανάγκη να απεικονίσει το σπουδαίο μας τον βασιλιά Λεωνίδα. Με μεγάλη χαρά δεχτήκαμε την πρόταση επίσης να φιλοξενήσουμε τον πίνακα αυτό. Και τώρα θα ήταν μεγάλη η παρέλειψή μου να μην αναγνωρίσω τον ευεργέτη, τον κύριο Δημήτρη Τσιβούρη, με την πολύ γενναιόδωρη προσφορά του που μας έχει δώσει την άδεια να φιλοξενήσουμε εμείς εδώ τον πίνακα στο Pan-Laconiικό Σύλλογο.
Είναι η χαρά και τιμή μου να είμαι εδώ απόψε μαζί σας, να θυμόμαστε τον Λεωνίδα. Why do we care 2,500 years later about the Battle of Thermopylae? Why do we care about the Battle of Marathon? Why do we care about ancient Greece? Well, because it is the foundation principles of Western civilization. It's not just that Leonida and, I'm sorry Michael, 7,000 other Greeks, along with your 300, stood alone against 300,000. Herodotus says it was 2 million. I don't think it was 2 million. It was probably 300,000, but of course it was overwhelming. And Xerxes was there to avenge his father, who had lost at Marathon. And of course, Marathon is a very famous battle that is, of course, replicated. And of course, there's a dispute about Marathon. Was it a run from Athens to Sparta to inform of the victory, or was it the reverse? I think historians will say it was the Athenians sending a messenger to the Spartans to come and support them. And of course, this civil war called Laconian comes from the term of a Laconian sense of humour. And I'll give you 2 descriptions of that Laconian sense of humour. When Philip of Macedon threatened to invade Sparta, he said, if you don't submit to Macedonia, I will send my army and I will enslave your women and children and plough salt into your fields. And what was the Spartan response? If. There was much discussion amongst the Spartans about building walls. And they said, well, why would you build walls? We have soldiers. Now, the reason we look to Leonida as a role model is because that defiance led to the explosion of Western civilization. If Xerxes had defeated the Greeks, if he had defeated and conquered Athens and conquered all of the Peloponnese, Western civilization as we know it would not exist. Democracy would have been snuffed out. Philosophy, thought, mathematics, politics, the arts, as we know it, wouldn't exist. And that defiance lives on with us. And Greek soldiers wear those sayings from 2,500 years ago on their arms. The very famous slogan, "More love, you come and take our weapons." When we're overwhelmed, they'll block out the suns with your arrows. The Greek response, the Laconian response, is, well, we'll fight in the shade. These responses, these no's, weren't just 2,500 years ago. They were by Prime Minister Medaksa. That no to the Germans was Leonida's no. So we are inheritors of all this. It's no surprise that when Hitler was conquering all of Europe, the first Western country to knock back any invasion by the Axis forces was who? The inheritors of that Spartan defiance. Greece united, and we withdrew them. And because we were able to repel them for a period of time, they delayed their invasion of Russia, and it led to the catastrophic loss for the Germans, and of course ultimate victory in Europe, and it started again in Greece. This battle is important, and the reason I want to reinforce this is that there are a lot of people here tonight who weren't born in Greece. We're the inheritors. We're born here, and our children are here, and our grandchildren are going to be here. We can't lose this identity. That's why your grandparents built this hall. That's why the Savoyi and the volunteers who are here working to feed us all tonight are working so we can maintain our identity, not lose who we are. And that's why Leonidas gave up his life. He knew he was going to lose. Those 7,000 troops withdrew and 300 stayed alone. And they all died, all of them. He was the king of Sparta and he gave up his life. And he gave up his life for a country that did not yet exist. He gave up his life for an ideal of Western civilization. So it's something we should celebrate, and I'm really looking forward to Dr. Rafferty's explanation of what occurred, and of course the ultimate naval battle victories afterwards. But this is a momentous battle. So thank you very much for your patience. And I'm going to leave by saying, I can't believe I'm going to say this, Zito Sparta.
Thanks a lot to everybody here today and to the organizer for this solemn event. When I was in the embassy in Georgia, in Tbilisi, I represented the ambassador in a international conference in Batumi. And after my speech, at some point, I was speaking with two members of Parliament, of the European Parliament, Swedes. And suddenly comes up to me this 27-year-old Canadian who says, I wanted to tell you how much I revere your country and your people and its history, and how much I believe that the word molon lave is the biggest ever to be uttered in military history. He was a student of military history, by the way. I was flabbergasted. The two Swedes were open-mouthed, and he just kept on his discourse explaining to me in detail why was it so important. And what does it mean in military history, and indeed in politics up to this day? Take Ukraine, for example. What it means to, if you want to fight us, you put up a fight for it. And later on in history, by our poet Kavafi, Konstantinos Kavafis, with his famous poem Thermopylae, τιμήσει αυτούς που φυλάνε Thermopylae, meaning in every walks of life, always stand your ground. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone for coming out, and thank you very much for having me. It's a lovely occasion here. I didn't literally think I would be speaking to 300 Spartans. The fact that we're having this event tells us that the memory of Thermopylae is important. But how should we remember it? How do we tell that story? The whole Persian Wars very quickly became central to Greek myth-making about themselves. Thermopylae especially became central to that story for a bunch of reasons. I think mostly because the Athenians wouldn't ever shut up talking about Salamis, and this was the story that non-Athenians could tell as well. So, a holding position of Thermopylae was formed, led by, naturally enough, by the Spartan king Leonidas, commanding a small allied army. But Thermopylae was only one half of the strategy. The other half was the Greek fleet defending northern Euboea. Together, the plan was to block any Persian advance into Boeotia, and that meant a battle. Long story short, it didn't work. Now, two things are simultaneously true here. At a military level, Thermopylae was a Greek defeat. I want to be politically, the battle was a success, and the success comes from that rearguard action, that heroic last stand by the Spartans of Thessaly. The great difficulty in the war as a whole, and always keeping in mind that the war as a whole, was in keeping the alliance together. It was only by sticking together that the war could possibly be won. This is a collective action problem. You need to trust the people you're cooperating with. You need to trust that they're not going to cheat, that you're not going to be left to carry all the costs while they get all the benefits. The Spartans were geographically in a great position to do this, to cheat. Yeah, they're right at the bottom of the Peloponnese. They're the very last people the Persians are going to get to. They're going to get to lots of other people first. But what Leonidas' action did was to show all the other Greeks that the Spartans were serious, that they would sacrifice themselves for something bigger than they were, that they would sacrifice themselves for something more than just Sparta. By creating that symbol, that rallying point, that went a long way to keeping the alliance together. It meant that there was just enough glue holding them together at Salamis, where the same problem occurred, at Plataea, when the same problem occurred again. That sacrifice helped build trust between cities that had not trusted each other before. And to me, that is the larger lesson we can all draw from Thermopylae. What you say you're going to do doesn't necessarily matter very much until you actually do it. Having skin in the game, making actual sacrifices, that's what makes other people trust you. And that's what Leonidas did at Thermopylae. Thank you.
Finally painted this beautiful plate as a thank you to Dr. Rafferty.